Everybody's got a blank page, a story they're writing today, a wall that they're climbing. You can carry the past on your shoulders. You can start over regrets. No matter what you've gone through, Jesus, He gave it all to save you. He carried the cross on His shoulders, so you can start over.
What up everybody, it's your girl Shania. Welcome back to my channel, Beauty for Ashes. I'm excited that y'all came to join me. Let's get to it. Okay, so today I want to talk about, our mental state, our mentality, and how a lot of the times we find ourselves having a slave mentality. They say in the Bible that Jesus is light. Jesus is the light in the world, right? So Jesus comes into our hearts, and a lot of times our hearts are dark. The life we're living is dark, but He's the light. He comes in there and He shines through those dark areas. Because some of us decide, even though we see the light, we won't go to it. We say, I don't know what's over there. I don't even want to mess with it. I'm used to this life back here. Or we go to the light. We take the path of righteousness, and we see that as, I think this is kind of too hard for me. And we slowly, sometimes we might do it fast, walk backwards into darkness. Some of us don't even know that we're in darkness. Some of us don't even know that we're slaves. You're a slave to lust. You're a slave to unforgiveness. You're a slave to pride, to greed. And you don't even know it. Harriet Tubman even says this: I freed 1,000 slaves, and I could have freed 1,000 more if they knew they were slaves. The body of Christ can do so much more if people knew that they needed help, that they were still slaves. Jesus in His time, when He walked this earth, could have saved so many more people if they knew they were slaves. Pharisees walked after Him, followed Him, ridiculed Him as they followed Him, saying, what are you doing? You're wrong. Not knowing that they were actually slaves to the law. And the person they were talking to was the key to their freedom. And they didn't even know it. Before Jesus came and died on the cross, we were all in jail cells. We were all chained up. We were all bound. But then when He died and His blood fell on this earth, the cell door was unlocked. And our chains fell to the ground. And the door opened. And some of us won't even walk through the door. And you're saying, why? Can't they see that it's open? They're blinded by the trials and troubles in their lives. They're blinded by the church hurt, by their father leaving them, by all these things that has hurt them. They're blinded by it. And they can't even see that on the other side of that is freedom. If you would just walk through that door, you will be free. But they don't know that they're slaves. Some people say, well, how is this Christian walk so great if I'm going through all this stuff? Well, God never said He wouldn't go through anything, but He did say He would provide a way of an escape. He did say, I will walk right beside you. Another example of the slave mentality is Israel, and how God got them out of Egypt and saved them from Pharaoh. But their mindset was still back there as a slave. And you see this in Exodus 14. This part is where Pharaoh's now chasing them, and now they just hit the Red Sea. They look back, Pharaoh coming this way. They look forward, the Red Sea. So they're like, okay, I see death on both sides. And they say this: as Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert. This is a good example right here of how they rather stay a slave than be free. And why is that? Because the freedom they thought it would look like, it didn't look like that. They thought it would be easy. They thought, oh, God gonna get me out. It's gonna be a piece of cake. We ain't gotta work no more. We ain't gotta suffer no more. But when they looked at the Red Sea and they said, God, how is this our escape? This doesn't look like the rescue that we thought you was gonna give us. Oh, this must not be from God. Oh, you must be trying to kill us. A lot of us have been presented a way of escape, but because it didn't look like how we thought it was gonna look like, we either turned around, we said, oh, that ain't from God, or we get mad at God for not saving us. God's saying, I am. It just doesn't look like how you thought I was going to do it. What did God do? He came right through for them, and he split the Red Sea. They walked through it with no problem, and Pharaoh and everybody else died behind them. And they just walked by faith. They literally had to muster up faith and walk. God, like, just rely on me. Just trust me. Have faith that I am your God and I will save you. How many of us is lacking faith right now? How many of us will not just walk by faith and just walk out of that cell door? The door is open. Let go of the chains. Okay, another example of the Israelites and their slave mentality is in Exodus 16. This is when now they're in the wilderness and all that stuff and they're hungry. So they say, the Israelites said to them, if only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt, that we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out to this desert to starve this entire assembly to death. Here, they were used to something. They were used to a certain lifestyle. And how many of us stay or want to stay in a lifestyle, no matter how bad it is, we stay in that abusive relationship. We stay gang banging. We do all these things, we stay because that's all we know. And no matter how bad it is, no matter how much, most likely we might die, we rather stay because it's all we know. Well, I don't know how many people have heard of the story of the man in the boat. Basically, it was a flood happened. And so before it got really bad, a man in a truck came and said, hey, come on. The flood's about to come, it's about to get worse. Get in. He was like, no, God gonna save me. I'm good. So the guy drove away. The water gets higher, so he has to get on his roof now. And then a boat comes. They said, get in. He said, no, God gonna save me. I'm good. They leave. Then a helicopter comes saying, get on, come on. They trying to come down a ladder to come and save him. He was like, no, I'm good. God gonna save me. And then they leave. And then the water gets so high that he dies. He drowns and he dies. And he goes and he gets to heaven. He said, God, why didn't you save me? He said, I sent you a truck, a boat, and a helicopter. What else could I do for you? It's because the rescue didn't look how he thought it was going to look. So he didn't think it was from God. How many of us are drowning right now? We need to stop acting weak, okay? And realize that we are sons and daughters of a king. We are royalty. We need to start acting like it. I want to touch a little bit on, too, the process. No one likes to go through the process because we ask God, just get me over it. Take it away from me. Just get past it already. I don't want to go through this anymore. But God never said you have to go through it alone. So we need to embrace the process, because the process is where we learn so that we don't make the same mistakes over and over and over again, so that we don't be in the same cycle over and over and over again and have to keep going through the process over and over and over again. When you want to learn right the first time, just learn what you need to learn the first time so that way you don't have to go through it anymore. God's will for you is not to struggle. It's not to go through the things that we go through, but because we have free will, we go through this stuff. We subject ourselves to all this pain. But then his will for us is to be free. So go through that process so you can be free. We look at the process as a curse. And when you do that, you miss the blessing. Okay? Your single season is not a curse. You being broke sometimes is not even a curse. It's a blessing, because once you finally get blessed, you are appreciated so much more than you would have if you never went through those seasons. What makes it also a blessing going through the process is how God shows himself to you. God will show himself to you like never before when you're going through something. When you have nothing else, all you have is him, all you can do is rely on God. God shows up in a way that you like, man, you remember that and your faith gets higher. It's a blessing to see how God moves when all you have is him. When you get out of that relationship because you rely so much on that. When that job is gone because you rely so much on that. When your friends are gone because you rely so much on them. And all you have is God. God will show himself in a way that you will never ever forget him. Ask yourself a couple of questions. What am I a slave to? Am I willing to leave what's comfortable to be free? And am I looking at my current season right now as a curse? So I hope you guys enjoyed this message. I will see you guys in my next video. Share and like this video. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.